So guys, this is US oil, this TVC broker that I'm using, and exactly what I asked you to do. And this is 4-hour time frame, right? This is 4-hour time frame. So what you are seeing on the screen here is exactly what I want you to see here, right here. Okay, what you need to see, these 4 hours, and you can see the support and resistance, the trend line. All right. So what I want to show you before we go, we're going to start from the beginning, of course. But let me show you some few things. All right. You see, at this point, there is intersection here. All right. And since the price has been going down, breaking through other support zone, is heading to this one now. Since after that point, it's heading to this one here. Which after we're looking forward, if we get here, if it will get here. But this is the main point we want to terminate. The main point. We're not done chart pattern. If I've done chart pattern, I'll show you the reason why we here coming down here. Of course, the market can get down here. There's no doubt, can get down here, but it's more of a overstretching yourself, because this is the leg that brought this pattern to the top. All right, that led to the highest points and begin to do lower high. To expect it to come back to the same leg. All right, well, that's when we do chart pattern. We'll talk about that as well. So, but you can see this is a support zone at the foot of the beginning of the upward move, the steep move. All right, this 4-hour time frame, and you know that this is very, very heavy move. This move here is just too heavy. So now, what I'm going to do now is that I am going to delete everything. This one I did before I gave you the assignment to go and do same thing. So I'm going to delete everything, and I'm going to walk you through the process which you can actually achieve this, so that you can see what you did, whether it corresponds, or the thought process, whether it rhymes with what you did, assuming you are correct. So I'm going to try to explain everything in this video. This is not going to be live video. This is not, of course, not live video. So I'll see how I'll be able to post this later on, and you guys will actually get it. So right now I want to delete everything, and we're going to walk you through, so that you learn exactly how you could always do this. So this is, of course, I did it before now. This is where the price is now. So, but what you do is, of course, you try to do what? To zoom to get the picture. All right. After zooming, so I've seen that, sorry, let me delete some certain things. I don't know, it's still following me. So at least you find out that, okay, let me just walk you through. Oh, unfortunately, we just have to try again. I think let me end this, change the battery. We'll come back and see if we can finish up. So now look at what you do, what you pay attention to. Now, you see, when so guys, pay attention to this. You see, at this point, when you have learned how to draw your trend line, realize that at this point, at this very particular point I'm trying to mark now, it's not following me, I don't know what's going on. This particular point I'm trying to mark now, and then this point, to your eye, it doesn't look good to be drawing trend line. All right. Then, but you pay attention until this very high formed. When you look at this particular one now, and this one here, you discover they are fit for a trend line. Now, we want to assume that what happened here has not happened, because this is exactly how we look like. We're removing this place that I just circled now. What happened here has not happened. All right. It therefore means that you are only going to be drawing your trend line, all right, based on that too. All right. This one not included. All right. based on these two. If there is anything you want to draw here, it's going to be like a resistance zone, all right, and not a trend line. So, but these 2 points, this point and this point, you can connect that as a trend line, all right. That's why I say you guys should spend time learning how to draw so that you can see with your eye, you can just know when a trend line, a good trend line is actually in play. So now I want to, okay, let me remove that. Let's go ahead and remove the, what's going on. Trying to remove all this. Sorry. Removing. So now I want to pick from this point now, and I want it to touch. You can touch anywhere, maybe like this or like at the tip. Anyhow you want to do it, you do it. So I'm trying to touch the tip of that too, and I am extending it. Doing that and I'm extending it. So I'm extending it after touching the tips. I'm just producing it to infinity or to wherever. Just keep producing. To be sure that it's touching. Okay. What I did was just ensure that it's touching this very one. Is clear that I see that it's touching it. I'm sure it's touching this and it's touching this, even though there is a little bit of this thing. It could be completely at the tip or just, you know. All right. So let's zoom in and see what we have done at those points. Remember that is only those two first points that has formed. The third point has not what formed. All right. So you see what I did here. There are two candles that came out. All right. I want to make sure that I touch the two candles with wick, and they are almost just a little distance separating the two high of these two candles. So I want to make sure I made sure that I touch the low, I mean the high of the second candle. That's the reason why we have a little. If you like, you can put it at the top of this, the first one, you still get similar results. Remember, when you are drawing a trend line, you might not, two people cannot do exactly the touch, but they are close, that is enough. All right. There can be error, margin of error. All right. Margin, small like margin of error, like 1% or 0.5% or 5% margin of error. All right. So observe, you get the same result at the end of the day. All right. You still get similar result. So it's not that it must be, but it has to be very, very similar, close to core. All right. So we have done, this is what I did. I took this point, rather, so let me mark it. I took this point, and slant it enough here and this point to get my what? My trend line. You saw that, right? So we are done with the trend line, and it happened to be what we saw there is a bearish trend line. All right. So how do we connect our support and resistance then? Now there's a principle I want to introduce to you here so that you see how it is done. So let's zoom again. Now, if you pay attention properly, you will see after connecting the trend line here, the first resistance you see, that's after connecting the trend line, the first resistance you see is here, this high. That the first, remember, you did not do anything until you saw this, and then you saw this. That is when you took the trend line. After you place the trend line here, these two, remember, all this side has not formed, just this formed, and then you saw it, and then you took your trend line. All right. After placing the trend line, you now saw this high here, this high here. All right. So After seeing this side here, you decide to use it to form a resistance. That's the closest resistance. All right, the closest resistance to the trend line that is not the trend line. That is not at the top. At the point of the trend line. So I pick my tool and I put it. I can decide to put it at the tip. All right, my horizontal tool. I didn't pick it. You didn't follow me. All right, follow me now, guy. All right, you followed me now. All right. Now I connected the trend line. Let me zoom in a bit, zoom out a bit, or zoom in a bit. So let me show you something that had just happened. What I was doing while my eye was looking, let me show you first. Now, the first thing here, remember this is the reference point. All right. But I also wanted to touch this rejection here, this high here. You know, there are two high here. All right. This happened to be because in the past, remember these are the one I'm looking at. I want to see if I can make something good as well at this by making it to touch other areas. So if you can see here, it touch here. All right, the between this high, this side. Okay, maybe let me be marking it out so that you guys can see it. You can pause your video and zoom and see this high. Then this side, that's in the past, referencing to the past. And then there is another one here, so almost 3 touches. But remember, I'm not really counting on that, but because this is the point where I focused on the high, or that can give me a resistance or support, all right, close to the trend line after I have drawn the trend line. After that, you can see between here, there is no other high apart from the one that we use the trend line for, which can also, we can also drop one here to make it a resistance zone as well, waiting for another. Remember, one touch resistance or one touch support. Remember, we talked about all this when we're talking about support and resistance. It's not every time you want to touch everything. Sometimes the one that is close to price, just take it. So, but we don't count this now because it is the one that our trend line is lining on. We are looking at the other possible resistance zone or support close to the trend line. This is where the trend line started. This is where the touch that will help us to form the trend line. This is the only high. So we use it as a reference point, but we're able to get the ones other kind of high in the past as well, which can give us more confidence that this is also a valid resistance zone. All right. All right. So let's look at, remember, it was after this and this that we draw our trend line. But did you see what happened here? Look at this point now. Using this method, look at what happened at the point of intersection of trend line and this, meaning that if you have drawn this already before market, because remember is this one, meaning that by this point and this point that we use, meaning that before market could get to this point, our line is already set and intersected and just waiting. So we are not the one that forced it. It just happened on its own that the price came to hit this point of intersection. And what happened? Price kept going down. Did you see how far price has moved? Did you see how far price has moved after that happened? No forcing, no nothing, just following the principle. All right. Okay, so let me do more to show you guys something more. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom in, because you'll be wondering, how do we draw other maybe support, resistance, and all this kind of thing. All right, so let's go step by step. Let's go step by step. Let's go step by step. All right, look at, since I have this here, I would like to pick in here because